Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barzi. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, give us a like, and leave us a comment. We'd love to know what you think. Today, my guest is Ms. Quinta Caylor. Quinta is a registered nurse. She's a private nurse consultant. She's a business life strategist, and she's a nursepreneur and a homeschool mom. Welcome, Quinta.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you. I so appreciate you having me on your show.
And I really am thankful that you're here because we all have things to say. So the first thing I always want to know from nurses is why they're nurses. So why are you a nurse?
I am a nurse. I sometimes say out of rebellion to my dad because he wanted me to be a doctor. And, as a teenager, I guess you grow up, especially at the time when I did not know better, always wanting to rebel. And I was like, no, I'm not going to be what you want me to be. I will be what I want to be. So he always wanted me to take care. He had seen that I love to nurture and he wanted me to take care of people. But someone approached him and said they were starting a nursing program in a town and asked if he wanted to see me go off to that since I didn't want to be a doctor. And he thought, okay, so I went into nursing and it has been my life because that's what I have done from birth, just nurture other people.
Okay, awesome. What town was that?
Oh, originally I'm from Cameroon in West Africa, and they were starting a 4-year degree program in a local college.
Okay, so then that means, so when you moved to the United States, you were a nurse?
I was a nurse on paper. I had worked for about a year or so back home, but it doesn't immediately convey to the United States. So I had to go through a process of starting out as a CNA in Oklahoma while I went to school and got all my paperwork conveyed over to the US and get it all what do they call that? Evaluated. It all had to be evaluated. My degree had to be evaluated, and then they had to send me the attestation. When it went through that whole process, including my English language, they had to see that there was an equivalency of what was taught in the US and what was taught in a degree program. And no matter how much we tried to tell them, oh, our instructors were all nurses who were schooled in the US, they didn't listen. They had to go through their process, which is okay because they're looking out for the public, right? So we got all that done, and they sent me the attestation to test. But by that time, I had been working as a CNA and I had been working as a medication aide. Then they sent attestation to test. I took my nursing boards and became a nurse in the United States.
Wow. How long did that process take?
It took 3 years, but to be honest, you can have that process completed in about a year or two, I think. That was back in between 2007 and 2010. And part of the problem was there was a lot I still didn't understand about the US, and then being in the US as by myself, and then again as a single mom, there were some interruptions along the way. So I wasn't turning in all the required paperwork in time.
I understand that. Wow. Woo, so what areas have you worked in? In what areas have you worked?
Long-term care. Long-term care is my heart. So I started as a CNA, became a medication aide. When I received my nursing, when I passed the boards, I went on and became a registered nurse at a home in Dallas, Texas. I worked there for a little bit and then went on to admissions nurse and then weekend supervisor and all in a sniff. And then moved to assistant director of nursing, and what else did I do before moving out of a SNF? I think that's all I did in a SNF. And then I moved on to wanted to try out critical care nursing. So I did some critical care nursing, home health care. I loved home health. Oh, I love home health because you really get to be a nurse. You're there with the patients, and it's not rushed. You don't hear any alarms going off. You're able to coordinate their care, give them all the attention. I just feel like that's the way nursing should be. That's the way healthcare should be.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I did home health after critical care, and then I did some home infusion, did some mental health nursing, and oh, that was so heartbreaking. Mental health was. Then I went on to do some more home health, and yeah, so those are the areas I have worked in.
Wow, that's a wealth of experience that you have gained. And you know, when you tell me 2007, we're now in 22. So what's that? 15 years? Wow, that's a wealth of experience that you have gained in that time. So having done all of that, is there anything about nursing or nursing life, for example, as we practice, that you think you would like to see change?
Oh, I would love to see nurses acknowledged for being the backbone in healthcare, because there is so much that we do behind the scenes that does not even get to be acknowledged, does not get to be talked about. Other people take the credit. That's okay. But we really, we are the legs holding the table. Yeah. You know, without nurses, it all falls apart. And we are not being acknowledged for what we bring to the table. We are basically an afterthought. You know, there's so much going on in nursing. You don't see nurses in Congress. You don't see, I think that's one right now in the House. Yeah. And you don't see individuals or organizations bringing nurses in from the beginning. And it starts at the level of the hospitals or the organizations, the facilities we work in. You know, no one is really asking the opinions of the nurses until things are way out of hand. Then they say, why don't we bring in the nurses to hear what they have to say?
Yeah. So let me ask you, though, do you think that we are partly responsible for that? I think we're partly responsible for that.
You know what, Dale? I will agree with you. I think we are partly responsible for that, but that's why I love nurses, because we are so dynamic. Yeah. Because we are also very accommodating. We have realized that we are partly responsible, and I believe that's why you are creating this platform. Yes. To start the conversation around how do we change this? Yes. How do we make it different for the future generation of nurses so they don't experience what we experience? Yeah. Yeah. We've got to stand up for ourselves. We've got to put ourselves forward a little bit more, I think, because we have a lot to say, we have a lot to offer. We need to recognize that and insist that others recognize what we're worth too. That's right. Yeah. So, having done all of this, what would you, okay, I'll do this one. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to be a nurse? Go into it for all the right reasons, because nurses are not paid well at all. So if you're going into it for the money, you will be sorely disappointed, your heart will be broken, and you will end up with a bunch of fees that you have to pay and not see the value for it. So I would say go into it for all the right reasons, because you really care for individuals. Even if you feel like you are dual passionate or multi-passionate like I am, you know, but if you at least care for individuals, go into it. There are so many different routes that you can take. Yes. With to care for individuals. Yeah, for individuals, indeed. And speaking of the routes you can take, you are an entrepreneur, right? Yes, I am. First of all, what led you into entrepreneurship, and what is your business? Okay, what led me into entrepreneurship? Yeah. I feel like I have always been in entrepreneurship. I was born to an entrepreneur. My dad never owned a job. He never had a job his whole lifetime. He was an entrepreneur from prior, before I was born till his passing. So I was raised in that. My mom had me strapped on her back and she'll take me to my dad's business. And so I just grew up doing things like that and learning about business, learning how to get contracts, getting my first contracts from my dad by the time I was a teenager. And I had always just loved entrepreneurship, the freedom, the flexibility, the highs and the lows. It was exciting. There were times when we would lose everything. And my dad would look at us and he would be like, it's business. And then there were times when we were all the way up here. My dad had 10 businesses at one point. They were all thriving. We were known as the wealthy family, one of the wealthiest families in town. He had so many cars, so much. And then we would lose and then we'll gain. So I just love the highs and the lows. I feel like it just goes well with my personality. So then I love being able to meet the needs of individuals. And I feel like entrepreneurship allowed me the freedom to fully do that without the restrictions of corporate. So as a nurse in the US, that was a struggle. Everywhere I went, I had the creativity of an entrepreneur. And they would immediately recognize that and they would make me a leader, but they would also realize that was the same reason I could not function well in my position as a leader, because I could not be put in a box. I always wanted to think outside of the box, and corporate would be like, no, you can't do that. This is the way it's done. This is our policy. You cannot care outside of this box. So, yeah.
I find that is true of a lot of situations in life in general. The things that people like the most about you are the things that make them the most uncomfortable.
Right.
And so you're like, but this is why you have me here.
Right.
So what is your business?
I am a business and life strategist. I help other nurses to launch and grow their own nursing businesses using their expertise and the things they are passionate about. I also right now help organizations like physician offices and nurse practitioner clinics take care of the chronically ill by implementing Medicare's chronic care management program. It's a wonderful program. A lot of physicians, it's amazing. Physicians don't know it's out there. Medicare just started that in 2015. And this past year, they actually increased the rate of payments because they've seen it work. And they are trying to get more physicians to implement it, because we complain a lot about the broken healthcare system. And the CMS has put together this program to basically bring the healthcare system together. It's care coordination. And I keep thinking, this is how healthcare should be in the first place. You should not just go to the doctor one time and then nothing happens in between until the next time you're sick or in the hospital, and then they see you again. So Medicare is trying to make it to where if you have 2 or more chronic conditions, which I'm hopeful they will spread it out to just anyone, but for now it's only 2 or more chronic conditions, then you get your own personal care manager who basically manages you in between doctors' appointments. So that's what I do. I help doctors implement this program. I help them see their patients and help run, in between doctors' appointments, manage their care. And also help families individually who do not qualify for this program. I help them take care of their chronically ill at home with private pay.
Okay. So I looked at your website. You have a very explicit website. It talks a lot about you and your values and all of this kind of thing, and so many things that you have coming soon, And I looked at, but what I looked at and what struck me the most was your list of values. You talked about faith over fear and hope, love, generosity, personal responsibility, and transparency, and all of this that you bring to your business. And what I wondered when I read this is do you find that this kind of it's, for me, the transparency was the most important. The transparency was the most important, in that if you're transparent, people will see all the others, right? And I'm wondering if you find that in your business and in your life that this is different or unique.
I think so, especially in an age where you get censored or canceled for the things that you believe in. I think it is now unique to be able to say, I'm going to be transparent, even if it costs me my business, even if it costs me my relationships. But I really think that it saves people time. My current husband, I've been married 3 times. That's another part of my life that, yeah. So I have been through hell and back, thanks to God. But my current husband, I met him online, and the way I did it online is the way I deal with every other aspect of my life. And it made it easier for me. Very transparent. You lead with information. It helps the other party. It helps you. Nobody's time is wasted. People can see you for who you really are and decide, I want to work with you. I want to deal with you. Or no, I don't want to work with you. I don't want to spend my time with you or spend the rest of my life with you. And you've saved you and them time. So it's a win-win eventually. It hurts sometimes because face value, you think, oh, I really want to work with this person. I really wish they could work with me. But then they turn you down because of maybe something you said or something you were questioning. But I will not trade that for anything. I was raised, my dad had a bookstore. He made me read a lot of books. And I was raised knowing that the best way to process knowledge and to be knowledgeable is to be humble. And the best way to be humble is to not act like you know it all, always question things. Unfortunately, in this day and age, when you're transparently questioning things, you will get canceled. But that's a value I hold true to myself, and I would not get rid of.
I got that sense just from reading those things on your page. I got that sense of it transmitted a quiet confidence that was very, very compelling, I found, anyway. So
thank you.
I liked it. Thank you for that. I liked it.
Thank you, Dale. That did not come easy. For those who know me, who are getting to know me, they know that I struggled with a lot of self-esteem issues, lack of confidence in myself, my abilities, just a lot of guilt and shame and not identity issues. And as a result, people pleasing. So I ended up in 2 abusive marriages. And as a result, had to go through extensive therapy. And in that process, found myself through a program, especially that my therapist and my pastor at the time recommended, called Celebrate Recovery. Through that process, I found myself. I got to find my identity no longer in the things I did or the people I related with, no longer in men or what they thought of me, but I got to find my identity in God and what He thought of me. And as a result, nothing can shake me from that confidence. So as I said, it did not come easy. It has not always been like that. And as a result, I do go out and try to help those who are facing similar situations, let them know that there is a way out of this. There is a way out of an abusive situation into a different, totally unrecognizable, brighter future. There is a way out of homelessness, which I was homeless when I was 6 months pregnant with my first one, out into a brighter future where you are making 6-figure income. There is a way out.
I got that sense. I got that sense. So congratulations to you for that, because you managed. I feel like it's very difficult to put that on a page. to try and encompass all of that and get it across to people as a way to introduce them to you and your business. So congratulations to you for that, because it did come across. It did come across.
Thank you, Dale.
So you just talked to me about, being homeless, being, coming out of abusive marriage and stuff like that, and finding your way to confidence. But along the way, you had to learn then to take care of yourself. So what does self-care exactly mean to you?
Oh, that's an awesome question, because I go in and out of self-care, and going through that program, Celebrate Recovery, I recognize the tools that work for me. The same things that work for me will not work for everyone. Yeah. Self-care to me is journaling. Self-care to me is getting away. Mm-hmm. And my husband knows, and my kids know that I will get away. I will go to the pond. I would go sometimes, like last week, I think I went away to the pond by myself for about 5 days out of the 7 days in the week. Yeah. I will get away periodically. That's self-care to me. And it comes in mini sessions. So I can get away for about an hour, 2 hours every day. That's self-care to me. Yeah. Or I can get away every quarter, get away by myself, totally go to the mountains, go to a cabin by myself for 3 days. And I never used to be able to be by myself, but now I just love myself. I love being by myself and spending time with me and God and getting to know me better. That's all self-care to me. I don't enjoy crowds or partying as self-care. It's different for different people, but that's, for me, that's self-care. And most importantly, self-care is doing the things I love. When I talk to my kids about purpose, I say, if you try to make a bicycle fly, that bicycle will be frustrated, because they were not made for that. Yeah. And I will be frustrated when I don't do the things that I love, that I was made for, that I enjoy. So self-care to me is doing the things that I enjoy, like business and especially coaching. I love coaching other individuals and just seeing them going from point A to point B.
Awesome. I love that. And I ask about self-care because one of the things that I frequently ask nurses about is we actually don't really take care of ourselves a lot. We keep putting ourselves further and further and further on the back burner. And if there is no back burner, we create one. To put ourselves on. And then I realized that there are all the other things like, short staff and management stuff. But when we do that, and then we complain about being burnt out. And a lot of it is our responsibility. We work too much. The ability is there to work, and we do it. We don't know how to say no.
Right.
We allow people to guilt us into saying yes. And I feel like, part of our self-care needs to be learning to going back to the 2-year-old self. When 2-year-olds say no, 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 no.
Yeah.
We should find our 2-year-old self and say, oh, enough.
Oh gosh, Dale, I love that you brought that up. And I'm telling you, if you can make that a platform and just keep telling nurses that, because I had never really connected the two, but when you said it, it makes so much sense. As nurses, we give. That's part of our job as nurses. We are givers, and we don't know when to turn that off. We are constantly giving, and then we don't know how to receive or how to even give back to ourselves. And that's a problem I faced, coming from a culture where you everybody's property, you have to take care of everyone else. You're a giver. Yeah. So to your whole family. So I actually wrote a mini book, which I've been telling myself that I have to pull it back off and redo it. It's called Not My Monkey.
Okay.
And yeah, and it was all about boundaries. I learned about boundaries only after my second failed marriage.
Okay.
It was all about boundaries. It's called Not My Monkey. And it's basically from the term not my monkey, not my circus. You have to learn where your boundaries are, and you have to learn that no is a complete statement. You don't need to go more after that. It's
Exactly.
just no.
No
Why not?
explanation
No. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So where can people find your book?
It's on Amazon, but I try not to promote it because I made it a point to quickly get that book out of me. It was like a journaling process. So it's what I would call a word purge. Like
Okay.
I wanted to get it out of me and get it out there when I was processing some stuff.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
even though I've had some sales from it, I know for sure I need to pull it out and pull it back out and redo it. Okay. I didn't edit it. I just purged, put it online.
I get it. I understand. I understand. So lastly, but certainly not least, I'm collecting these words, Quinta. I want to know what nurses see in nursing. So if you had to describe the most essential quality of a nurse in just one word, what would that word be?
Whoa, I wish I had had time to think more about that. But I would go with empathetic.
Empathetic?
Yes, because yeah, sometimes you just need to, and I actually have had to do that sometimes, to just pray that God helps me understand someone's situation, because I have not been through that particular situation, so that I can relate with them.
Yeah.
I can meet them where they are.
Yeah, I have prayed that prayer. I have prayed that prayer because sometimes you cannot even imagine what they are going through. And it's not always a big thing. It's not always a big thing in your eyes.
Right.
It's not always a big thing in your eyes. You recognize that it's a big thing for them. And if it's not a big thing in your eyes, your initial thing and what's intrinsic is like, what's the big deal? But it is a big deal, and it's a big deal for them. So you have to be able to try and understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes that's not easy. And sometimes we confuse empathy with sympathy, which is not the same thing, which is not what they wanted. They didn't want your sympathy. They just wanted you to understand.
Yes, and that's tough. So it's something I'm constantly trying to improve on. I find that it goes a lot with this buzzword that is going around, buzz phrase, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And so I keep praying that and reading up and finding more and more resources on how to improve on my emotional intelligence.
Yeah, indeed, which is a huge thing. A huge thing. A lot of the world turns on emotional intelligence or lack of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Quinta, thank you so very much for doing this. I so appreciate it. We have talked about so many things in these few minutes. And you've opened my eyes to a few things. So thank you so very much for that.
Thank you. I really appreciate you doing this deal. I am so thrilled that you are taking your time to do this, and I cannot wait to send nurses your way. We want the world to see what nursing is all about.
Indeed. Let's do this.